Hello, everybody. It is Sherby here. I have not talked to you in quite a while, and I thought that I would tell you why while I am driving along in my car to go do a big sort of shopping deal. This is not going to be my typical planner content, and it probably will mention politics. And if that is something that does not interest you at all, then I highly suggest you just not listen. And uh, yeah. So I'm sorry about that, but I'm also not sorry about that because I do call this Dapples for a reason. I just typically have a lot of things that happen, and my focus will often turn off road and go somewhere else. So I'm going to give you a little fill in about what's been going on, not any one particular thing really, and talk to you. That's all. Give you a little look more into me rather than my planner, and I'll give you some updates about how the planner shit's going also. And this will have a lot of cursing, so I hope you're ready. Let's do this. So yeah, I'm driving along. I have my mic clipped to my shirt. I did this last week, start a podcast with my friends. It's mostly me in a car. I go and pick them up, and we try to get lost. We don't use a GPS. We drive around trying to get lost, and we just talk to each other. It is a great way for me to have some one-on-one time with my friends. It is also a great way to break up the day, get out of going out for happy hours. Lately, I have not been wanting to drink, and when my friend circle really centers around going out to places, I also haven't been wanting to spend money. So it's really cool to be able to have one-on-one time. And we often meet as a group, and I don't get a lot of one-on-one time with my friends. So I have decided to call that channel that I began Share by Babbles. If you're interested in it, you can go check it out. And it's just like Share by Dabbles, but with a B for Babbles. And the podcast is called Along for the Ride. I might change it. Who knows? It's still in its very, very, very newborn infancy. Like it's practically still in the womb kind of infancy, you know. And I have only gone on one ride with my really good friend Sherry that I am sure I have mentioned before in my planner channel. So you may have noticed when things started slipping off the most for me in my planner channel. And quite clearly, that is a little bit in November, but when things start hitting home in January. And I will say right up front, I have never been a supporter of Trump. He has always made me feel kind of slimy. He's icky to me. He strikes me as a shyster. And I was stunned to hear that he was going to be in politics. And at first I thought, okay, maybe he's good marketing or whatever. Seeing something like The Apprentice, I don't know what it is. Maybe it is the fact that he exudes arrogance, and I don't like arrogance. I like confidence. Arrogance is to me somebody who actually lacks confidence. It's an empty sort of confidence, but because it's not real, it's not authentic. And I just don't like him. I just really don't. He's not somebody I would have ever trusted if I met him in person. I would have probably turned my head away and acted bored if he wanted to talk to me. I would just want to get away. And he just has always been that sort of a person to me. I get the appeal of somebody who is a billionaire. I get the appeal if he is a billionaire. I don't even think he is. Millionaire, maybe. I don't think he's a billionaire because when you actually go digging down and looking deep, he has hurt a lot of people and their businesses, and he has failed a lot of businesses. And to me, a billionaire has successful billionaire businesses, or they've inherited it. And I don't want to get too like in the weeds on that sort of shit. The bottom line is that it has depressed me. And I don't mean depressed like I'm sitting around, oh, woe was me, what the fuck. More in a Right now, I feel that all of our hands are tied, and I don't like that feeling. I don't like feeling like we have no answers and we have no, we're trapped in a box and we can't figure out how to get out of the box. So I have been sort of, I want to say I've been focusing on self care, and I have to an extent, but I feel that we have misdefined self care. Self care seems to be something where we forget about the world, and I am trying to care for myself while I am very much still aware of what is happening in the world. So, so I'm paying attention, and I am trying to think of ways to combat it. I have joined a local grassroots organization, and I have told the group, I'm one of the steering committee folks, and there's like 7 of us or 8 of us or something. And when you have a committee group with that small amount of people, you are able to actually say things to the group at large. I think everybody could, eventually, and I hope people do. But I have pointed out and said no amount of activism is too small. Feeling joy is a form of activism, and it absolutely is. But I need to clarify for myself that I can feel joy on the one hand while simultaneously being aware that one day feeling joy, it might be a lot harder to do. So if I get into the habit of doing it now, maybe it won't be so hard. Things are a little scary. I try not to fall into conspiracy theories, but I really think what the real reason for my feelings are, what the real reason for my depressive feelings are, is the amount of people, the shocking amount of people who seem to have lost compassion, empathy, care, and understanding, who have chosen instead to want to feel powerful by being ugly, by being authoritative, by feeling that they can poke and jab and insult and demean and hurt others, and that is their way of feeling stronger. I've often wondered, I thought of this the other day. I was looking around the room and I was seeing women. I was looking at it from the perspective of women in the world of diversity and inequality, inclusivity. In that world, my place for experiencing inequality or any sort of ism is being a woman, right? And to some degree, the second one would probably be in my youth being a poor woman, a poor girl on welfare and in that environment quite frequently. And then you would go to abused, and it just gets bigger from there. I don't think that the ism against me as a woman is as great as racism, nor will it ever be. All activism begins with racism, and uh, our brothers and sisters and neighbors and fellows in the world who are of another color, especially African Americans in the United States, the group with which I am most familiar, they get racism fatigue. It gets exhausting. And I think that the closest we all, if we are not Trump supporters, if we are not MAGA, I'm not even going to say Republicans or conservatives, because Republicans and conservatives, I think, are aghast. I mean, they are at least people who believe in the basic tenets of democracy and community. And they just, as far as I was aware, wanted to do it more stringently with a lot of checks and balances, not doing away with all the checks and balances. Um, anyway, the closest I think that we can all get to identifying to some degree with what that racism fatigue must feel like is this democracy fatigue, this end of being who you are fatigue, this ripping away. Now, the difference, of course, is, I think, and of course I cannot speak to another's experience, especially, a Black person's experience in our world, but we at least have tasted what that democracy is like. We have experienced what that liberalism is like. We have understood the openness and the availability of being exactly who you are and how you live. We know that experience. And now it is suddenly one by one being torn down. And have we directly been affected yet? I would argue yes, because we are already censoring ourselves in ways we don't recognize. The last 4 years, for instance, asshole Trump wasn't even president, and I was not putting political stickers on my car anymore. I was not putting things on my clothing, my bags, my vehicle that would point me out as a target to the vitriol and the hate and the absolute awfulness that I totally missed where I was turning. No, I didn't. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going straight. That is now out there, and I regret that. I regret it so hard, because putting those things out there, it only stands out to the people that it should stand out to. And it only brings joy and happiness and kindness and a reminder that you are not alone to the people who need it. When you are a person of color, you cannot hide that thing. They are out there in the world with it every fucking day. And if I felt that I was somehow going to be targeted for my fucking women who read are dangerous bumper sticker, I mean, imagine not wanting to be targeted, but having no choice because of how you look. And women get that. You know, there are certain environments we will not go into because we are women. And we have our guards up. I mean, I don't know if men could understand, but I know that as women, for instance, if you're not available and you have a partner, you go out in public by yourself, say to a bar or a musical event or something, you kind of turn off this part of you that says that I am available. You turn off your openness that makes you look inviting, that makes you look like anybody can come speak to you. And you do that because you understand that you need to be invisible in that environment for fear of, or for not fear even, because you just don't want to be fucking irritated by assholes. And we put that up and we turn it off, that we just do that. I think the only group in the world that has not had that as a learned experience, barring people who have experienced trauma, or the most compassionate of people, or the liberal of people, or the people, I hate saying the word liberal over and over, but the people, the men out there are some men whose experiences have been informed where they do know how to do that, but for the most part, white men do not have that kind of ingrained in them from childhood. I would argue that the white men who do were probably abused. They were probably beaten by their fathers, mothers. They definitely have experienced something that put them there, but for the most part, as adults, I believe that white men do not have to face anything that instills in them the capacity and understanding to make themselves invisible when they have to. It's a spidey sense, right? Which is ironic because white superheroes are the ones who are, you know, they need a superpower to feel those instincts to protect, where women just have that. And I believe, I'm sure people of color have that, even though they cannot turn it off. And now we know as well, gay people, trans people, non-binary, LGBTQ plus IA, all of it. And I am disheartened that we now, okay, let me put it this way. On one hand, I'm like, okay, I think we're closer as a community to understanding the racism fatigue that our fellow Americans have had to suffer and live with for generations upon generations. Also, it sucks. And those two things are existing at once. One, whenever we experience and build up a new means of compassion, we're growing, we're expanding, we're becoming better human beings. On the other hand, what the fuck? Like, what in the actual fuck? There's one, in my head, I have this argument. Everybody is able to think and feel what they feel. That's their experience, including MAGA, including those people. There is something that has them attaching to that sort of ideology that answers to them and makes them feel like they finally have a place. What it is, I don't know. Do I doubt that it exists in them? No. They certainly have that experience. In the same way that you try to explain to a man why women feel different in this experience, and a man might say, I don't get it. I feel that way. I know somebody, for instance, who said that they're really angry. It's like, because I have daughters. And it's like, okay, so imagine what it's like for a woman. What do you mean imagine what it's like for a woman? I have daughters. I know exactly how you feel. No, sir, you do not. In the same way that I do not know what a man feels, or what a MAGA person feels, or what a trans person is feeling in this moment. I do not have that experience, nor am I going to assume that my feelings are exactly the same. That is ridiculous. And I think that that feeling has to extend to people who are MAGA, who are Trump supporters, because there is no alternative. We need to stand true to that. Where I think it differs, that's not even the right way to introduce this next thought process, and that is, I begin to doubt that MAGA really is genuine in their experience, and that Trump is answering to it when they display hypocrisy about that experience. Hypocrisy is something that has gotten under my skin for so long. I cannot stand hypocrisy. I mean, it literally makes me just curl in on myself, and I feel so angry, so incredibly angry when somebody is hypocritical. And what I see a lot with Trump is hypocrisy on its sleeve. I read a theory about, what was it? It was about something about mirroring, where the person in power will express or do or state an action that and put it on you when they fully intend to do it. But by the time they do it, they have already done it. And now you have no choice but to respond in that same way. It's like let me give an example, for instance. I'm not explaining this properly. I wish I had looked it up first, but I didn't know I was going to talk about it. So psychology, mirroring, something like that. Look it up. Don't Google. Go to DuckDuckGo. Fuck Google now. Man, I'm so mad at everybody. Okay, so this is how it would work. And women who have been in abusive marriages understand this. Trump saying that the election was rigged. For 4 years, it's rigged, you stole it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He gets elected. Musk was very much behind his election. $250 million was put into his campaign by Trump. He made several statements before the results were due that they have this big secret. And then I live in a swing state, and you see that many of the ballots would have just the president signed in with blank for everything else, which is a problem. It was statistically higher than any other election ever where that would happen, and a process also called downvoting or undervoting, where it would be a Republican president was chosen, but Democrats everywhere else on the ticket. Are some of those happening? Absolutely, but it was statistically an anomaly. Now, what can Democrats and supporters of Kamala Harris, or people who did not want Trump to be president, what recourse do they have to call foul when we just denied that our electoral system could not be manipulated for the last 4 years? That's an example of that mirroring. We see him do it in conversation. He will bully somebody to the point where they start getting upset. That's something that I think people in relationships can recognize. I'm going to yell at you. And then I'm going to talk real calm, or I'm going to egg you until finally you get pissed off and you snap at me. And then I'm going to accuse you of raging. Shit like this. There are better examples out there that are far more studied and spoken about by experts. I am not an expert in that, but it happens and it's out there. What is our recourse in something like that? What it is, though, is hypocrisy. I have a family-ish member, for instance, who wrote today that the signs people held up to J.D. Vance were out of line because he was there to vacation with his kids. How dare you? His kids were there. That is so rude, et cetera, et cetera. How many times have I living in a swing state, Pennsylvania, How many times have I driven by houses decorated all nice for Christmas with fuck Biden flags flying in the yard? I mean, honestly. The things that that man has done on television, on a public stage, in an arena, is disgusting and despicable. And then we have people in Vermont holding signs up that say Vance skis and jeans. And you want to give me that bullshit? I'm sure that there were some that weren't nice. I'm sure. But when you go into a political arena, and especially when you are supporting a man like that, I don't think that it's on the people fighting for their rights on the street with protest signs that should be judged or called out for bringing J.D. Vance's kids into that situation. So fuck him. My response to them was cry harder. It is hard not to be angry. I don't know how everybody else is doing, but this has definitely affected me. I have opened up my planner to try to keep track with my weeklies. I love my fucking weeklies. I think they're great. They're fun. They're colorful. I do not know how to keep up what I am doing each day in a colorful format, nor do I look at what's on that piece of paper and I'm like, I should be archiving shit. I should be doing something else. And as much as I say, expressing your joy is a form of microactivism and it matters, it's not bringing me joy to do that right now. What is bringing me joy is trying to do something else, trying to do something more directly related. So I am in a grassroots org. The problem is I'm still in my band. I still have my son. I still have my friends. I still have my life. I hurt my back. I was in an enormous fibro flare-up for at least a month and a half. I haven't been able to exercise in 2 months because of my back injury. I just feel my body feels overwhelmed, and stress is a trigger, and it's fucked, guys. I'm just fucked. I feel fucked. And so when I think about my planner, I feel upset that I am not helping to feed your joy, that I know it is not my responsibility to do so, and I know that people out there understand and do not mind, but it's timing. I feel more tired. When you have stress, you just feel more tired. So I figure if I can talk, if I can put in some of the babbles with the dabbles, maybe you can get that. Maybe you can come over to that podcast and hear me, and maybe I can cross-reference these two things. I would love to put, actually, what I should have done if I had thought of it beforehand, and perhaps I still could, and I would love to hear what you guys think, because so many of you, if you are listening, and I don't know how many people are going to want to hear this, but so many of you are also, you like my personality, when you listen to my stuff. Maybe you could tell me, is Sure by Babble something that is an offshoot of Sure by Dabbles on the same channel, but it's a podcast, except it's not about planners? Can you separate those two? Or maybe it should just be a separate channel and people subscribe to it, and you can get best of both worlds from two different streams. I am on my way now to go shopping at this great store that we have in Pennsylvania. There's at least 4 of them. I think there are some in Maryland, owned by the Amish. It's called, that they used to be called like Benton Dents, and they have a lot of products that are significantly cheaper than you get at the grocery store. I think it is literally trucks that cannot deliver their goods, or they are overstocked, and so they get bought out by like the Amish, I believe. I could fill up a whole cart and not spend over $150. It's insane. So they have like shampoos, conditioners, deodorants. It's called BB's, and I'm preparing for us to always have food, because I just don't trust where things are going, and there is no harm in it. I mean, we're going to need the food. We're going to want to eat the food, but with how quickly things are being dismantled, and with how quickly our Republican congressmen and women have turned their backs on democracy, it stymies me, and I feel that there is something stronger happening that might explain what's happening. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is, but I feel like they're scared, and I wish I knew why they were scared, but they're not telling us. So I don't know. I don't know what to think. I'm trying not to get into conspiracy theories, but dudes, it's freaking hard. It's hard to not know that. So protests, I admit I have not gone to a protest yet. I have encouraged it at every turn. I participated in the economic blackout. I am continuing to participate in it, supporting only small businesses, cash when I can, because every time we use our card for Visa or MasterCard, it is putting money into the system that is not fighting for us. I do want to change my banking to just a credit union. I confess that that is a little harder for me to do because it's tied in with my son's account, but he is old enough now that I could get him a new one. I like that there are no overdraft fees, etc. So I'm going to explore credit unions for the right options. I may, in the meantime, write to Capital One and ask them what they are doing to ensure the safety of my money and finances, because Trump has already, Trump and Musk, I am going to say Trump, even though it's Musk doing it, because he's doing it under the guise of Trump. But I'm going to write to them. Trump and Musk have been they want to dissolve the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And they are the people who ensure our money is safe, who help us when people commit fraud and pull our money out. I worry that one day we're all going to wake up and our money's going to be gone, and they're going to want us to, they're going to say, we transferred all your money into crypto. You're going to love it. It's going to be huge. It's going to be great. Everybody's going to be rich. And that's bullshit. And these are fears. It doesn't mean I'm out there, spreading the word that this is going to happen, but it is friggin' possible. Some things that I have been spreading around on Blue Sky, etc., is I have been sharing generalstrikeus.com. And that's based on the 3.5% rule. Historically, if you get 3.5% of a population to commit to a general strike altogether, you can overthrow a government. It has been about 99% successful. I think there's been one time where it didn't work, even though I think eventually it did. You can find some of that history online. Just look under 3.5% rule. 3.5% for America is 11 million people. Last time I looked, we were at about 288,000 people who have committed. I committed. You don't get any emails or notifications or anything until they reach 6 million people, because by then the population is growing exponentially and you can start planning, this is the day we're going to start. And I think that everybody should sign up and sign a strike card. You don't have to use your real name. I mean, you could open an email account that's just for General Strike, and check it periodically to see how the numbers are going, or check it after you see that the numbers have gone great. Remember your password. I put in SureBuy because I'm kind of out there, and that's just, I'm not a big enough voice, I think, but I'm out there anyway already, and backtracking seems kind of silly. Second thing that I have been pushing a lot is called billionaireconspiracy.com. And this does sound crazy. And the way that I preface this when I post it is 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, the shit that's happening today, we would have looked at each other and said, no, that's crazy. He wouldn't do that. I think half of the people who voted for Trump did not expect this. But now tech bros and billionaires are behind all of our social media and communication. And you can be damn sure they are affecting the algorithms and making sure that we are in a bubble so we don't see what's happening. They don't want us to know, I think, that half of Trump's supporters are no longer supporting him because he has completely dismantled what has been occurring. And they are now forcing, I think, a lot of bots and MAGA people onto our algorithms to make it look bigger than it is. I do not believe it is that big. I think it's much smaller. But I do think that the billionaires want it to work for them. When you go to billionaireconspiracy.com, you can see that it's no longer a conspiracy. I mean, these people have conferences about what they want to do with our country and with our national forests. It is not an accident that those have been cut kind of at the beginning. So I also push that to go take a look. There is a YouTube channel. I can put links to these in the notes. There is a YouTube channel called, if you just put in Dark Gothic MAGA or Dark Gothic MAGA, Gothic Dark MAGA. Yeah, I said it right the first time. Dark Gothic MAGA. That is a video version explaining about Curtis Yarvin, Peter Thiel, and the billionaires and what plans they would like to have for America. And you could also look up Curtis Yarvin and the Butterfly Revolution. The problem is that these plans, I think, will fall apart without better understanding and planning for this huge, enormous country. The thing that I have going for us when people fear that Trump is becoming a dictator, and he is, I think what people fear is something akin to Germany. It would help us to remember that Germany is about the size of not very many, like Texas, maybe a little bit bigger than Texas, but that's it. It may be bigger than that, actually. I have to look again, but it's not as big as the United States, and the United States is a lot harder to control. However, Russia is just as big, but we have not been in a dictatorship as long as Russia had before Putin took over. So we have a little bit more of a basis for understanding how democracy can work, how to protect ourselves, how to overthrow it, and how to fight back. And that in itself, I think, is helpful if we remember those things. The people who are in it and paying attention are the most scared because you're paying attention. There's a huge number of Americans who still aren't paying attention to that. And once they are, I feel confident they will be on the side of us fighting to get our democracy in line. So the best thing that we can do is find ways of informing them. It will grow organically, though, too. I mean, we don't ever want to scare people or press these politics onto them because it will scare them away. But I am a little bit impatient for more people to recognize what's happening. And there is nobody bigger to embrace in this than those who supported Trump that now no longer do. And I get the fuck around, find out, and you're in the find out phase, and you put us here, and you can go, I don't care, go shit in your own pants and milk in it, marinate in it, like fucking pissed, and I get it. I absolutely am as well. But they understand that experience, and we do not. They understand what it was about him that made them vote for him. I do not. We need their voices to speak to the rest who are still on that side. We cannot deny that space. And if we are truly the open-minded people that we say we are, we do not have to forgive it. No fucking way do we have to forgive it. But we can acknowledge that their experience is something that we do not have because we didn't vote that way. And we need to trust that they are the voice the other side might call reason. I don't, of course, and they're not going to listen to me because they know that. I don't know their fucking experience. How am I supposed to tell them, hey, look, this is what you do? I mean, that's just as bad as like some white person going in the middle of George Floyd riots and being like, can we just all calm down? Fucking no. They knew exactly what they were there to do. They had that experience. And we could understand it from the outside, but it's almost like we didn't have the right experience to be in the midst of that. We would be there from the experience of, I care about these people and I want to help as much as I fucking can, and I know that you are the target and this is wrong. That's the way that we are going to help and be behind them. But we were not that person. We were not the center of that struggle. We were on the outside saying, I want to fucking help. I want to help because I know, even though I don't understand the experience, I know that it matters. and your experience is your own, and you deserve to be a whole person living just as well as everybody else. We tend to center ourselves too much.
So it's a little bit later, and I wanted to clarify a couple of things. And I don't know where in this publishing, posting, this is going to fit. When I speak of the things that I'm about to speak of, I recognize and realize that I do not always say things very clearly, and sometimes I don't finish a thought. I did want to especially clarify, though, that when I was speaking of the George Floyd riots, I wanted to make it clear that what happened to George Floyd was fucking awful, and it should not have happened. But it did spark a lot of talk about anti-racism and what that means. It is what introduced to, I think, a lot of people who had never even heard of the word inclusivity and what inclusivity means. And I think it really brought to the forefront for many people that never had to deal with it in their faces what it means when white people center themselves in a struggle. When I spoke of, I don't want to imply that the George Floyd um, anger and everything, that only Black people could be angry about that. What I want to say is that the anger and the fight and the response that Black people had is not what white people will have. And for white people to think that they're just as mad, yes, you're mad, but you can only reach a certain level of mad that still will not be what Black people experience for themselves. Our experience is wholly different. We're mad, but Black people aren't just mad. It's a whole different experience, and I can't speak to it, but it is not something that we will ever understand. The closest we could come to understanding is as women versus men. For instance, our experience as women is something that men will never understand. And it would be a great conversation to see if trans men understand it after they have transitioned and are seen outwardly as women. That would be a fascinating conversation. But the experience is wholly fucking different. And when I spoke about that, I realized that my words understanding weren't quite specific enough. And so I just wanted to put that out there, that as angry and as hurtful and as sad and as terrible as George Floyd's murder was, my understanding of that is still not the same impact or the same understanding as that of Black people, as that of people who understand that it could have been them under that fucking douchebag Chauvin. It's a whole different experience. Kind of like rape, for instance. You know, men don't walk around with that fear that they will be raped the same way women are. You know, I just wanted to specify that if I wasn't clear before. And so many people may have filled in those gaps, but I'm also a kind of person where I feel like I have to break it down to the tiniest fucking detail to make sure I don't misstep or say something that is not correct. And I hope that I got that across well enough. And I do understand that the conversation about race and experience is also not mine. But I am trying to put out there that when it comes to speaking to people who are supporting Trump, it may be as well, we do not understand their experience. Anybody, any person, like the person sitting beside me or checking out their groceries in front of me, their experience is just theirs. And we have to trust them when they say this is what it is. I would also like to trust, though, that we can teach empathy and through community, that we can expand those mindsets so that if we get to know them and their experience, we don't have to understand it to the point that we agree with what they do, but we have to believe them. We simply have to believe them. And I think that's going to be the only way that we can move forward in politics, if we get the chance to move forward in politics, that we really understand the experience of people who really want Trump to be there. And I've got to say though, that I draw the line in that understanding when it comes to the people who just want to hate and be violent and be authoritative and be bullies to the extent of they want to hold the gun at the top of a death pit. Those people are a whole different beast. I don't think that that is based on any real experience. So I just wanted to put that out there and clarify a little bit. I hope that makes sense. And wherever I pause this, I hope it's seamless to go right back in. So here we go.
We cannot convince other Trump supporters. Now, I know people who supported Trump. I know one who changed their mind that is very, very close to me. And I love that they fucking figured it out pretty damn fast, voted for him in 2016, and then pretty quickly was like, what the fuck? I know people now who voted for Trump who have pretty much avoided me. I'm very vocal on social media. They haven't all unfriended me, but they have definitely avoided me. I cannot reconcile who I know them to be as people with their vote. I can't reconcile that. I don't understand it. Well, I'm a business owner, okay? There's a lot more at stake here than your business, but that's their experience. Their business is their huge, humongous focus, and maybe they believed it wouldn't harm anybody else. Maybe they believed, well, he only does half the shit he says. Why they thought that he would only do the half that was important to them, I don't know. I have no answers for that. I hope I get back to doing my planner stuff. I didn't expect to talk so far for 35 minutes about this bullshit, but here we are. And sure by babbles, when I went and took a ride with my friend Sherry and we got lost, we talked about a bunch of other stuff. It didn't focus on just this shit. It focused on a lot of other normal stuff, you know. Um, and it was fun. It was fun to do, and I can't wait to do it again. I'm hoping I do it at least once a week. Pick up a friend and talk to them, and sometimes it'll be just me. I appreciate all of you for sticking with me. I do not think that I will abandon Share by Dabbles. I definitely, I love doing it and I want to get back into my planner. And maybe this is the bridge I needed to build to do that. I sometimes I can't move forward until I'm completely honest. And I was worried that if I didn't put this part of what is going on with me out there, I would not be authentic in my planner. And maybe that's why I've avoided it, because I couldn't express and say and do everything in it. It's very much like a diary, and I couldn't express and do everything in it that was honest and authentic to me without telling you guys this is what's happening. And it might be like just putting a toe in the water and seeing how you guys respond and seeing if it's okay. I mean, I'm not going to assume that just because people love the shit that I put in my planner that you think like me. I mean, one of my biggest learning moments in life was meeting a gay man who was racist. It didn't make sense to me. I was like, how can you live in this form of struggle and be against others who live in their forms of struggle? It didn't make sense to me. Still doesn't. It still doesn't. So maybe this is just the thing I had to put in play to return to my planner wholeheartedly and authentically, knowing that oh, I just saw somebody put a generator in their car. I'm not the only one here doing this, man. I know that these people are doing the exact same thing. Just planning properly. Anybody got a ham radio and know how to use it? You got any skill sets out there that you think are going to be awesome that you want to talk about and share? We need so much unity and community right now. Try to find a club in your area. It doesn't have to be a political club. Try to find a bowling league, a knitting club, a planner club, man. Do some crafts and shit. We need community more than ever, because I think that social media I think this has been a plan in the making for a long time. And I think our technology and social media has helped to ensure we would be individual and without community, because community is strength. So we have to build our own armies in that way. All right, I feel a little bit better. I do hope that this helps me open my planner and paint. I have like 7 fucking planners going, you guys. It's it's crazy, but I have so many. And I'm excited for that to happen. I still want to do my yearly flip through of my Hobonichi. I have a Hobonichi Weeks that I'm using for inspiration. I have an everyday carry that I do not look at as often as I should. I keep missing shit. And then I have my health planner that I have not filled in, ironically, because I have not been feeling healthy. And I think that that's a sign I'm in a kind of flare up or a depressive state when I'm not tracking my health things. And isn't that ironic how that works? And I don't know how to overcome that. I might just have to accept that that's how that works. So thank you so much to those of you who are here, who have listened to this. I absolutely, so truly and greatly appreciate you all. I don't know what sort of video I'll put along with this. For my Sure by Babbles, I just put like a virtual image of something, a virtual movie that was like 30 seconds long on a loop. And I may do something very similar. And maybe I can add a little clip at the beginning that this is just for hearing. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll do a flip through that you can just watch me flip the pages while I talk about this. Maybe that's what I'll end up doing too. Or I have a great book called There Once Was a World about an entire community that had disappeared because of Hitler. And just flipping through those pages might help remind me and remind people that actions have consequences, and how close do we really have to get before we fight against a slippery slope, because I feel like we're halfway down that hill. A lot of people say that they will turn, and their red line for Trump is when he puts people in concentration camps. Why wait? Why are you okay with waiting until that happens? Isn't that a sign that it's too late? And for the record, he is putting our illegal immigrants into concentration camps. And even though people feel that way about illegal immigrants, I do not, because they're still fucking people. They are people. Why are we okay with doing that with any people at all? That's terrible. All right. I think that's all I have. I ended on a very depressing note. My apologies. I love you all. Thank you so much. You may not have heard me say quite so many times. I always try to edit them out of the videos, but this is just going to be posted as it is. And I appreciate you all. Work hard on your mental health. If you are not feeling physically like awful like I am with hurt backs and all that crap, exercise a little bit, binge some Bridgerton. Whew, steamy. I finally did that too. That was nice. Read a book every now and then. Enjoy some podcasts. Read a magazine. Subscribe to some if you can. Stock up on good food and take care of you. I hope I will talk to you soon. Peace out, home skillets.